Okay, so this is a continuation of 4.1. So using the terms and conditions on here, we are going to answer these questions. So Chad plans to transfer $2,000 to his new credit card because the APR is lower. What fee will he pay to transfer the balance? So a transfer fee for balance transfer fee is 3% of the amount transferred. So it's fairly simple. 2,000 times 0.03. So that's $60. And that may not seem like much, but the deal is like even if you go and pay that off the very next day, you still paid $60. Okay? So then after he got the card, the prime rate is published at 9.3%. What is the new APR for his purchases? So we'll do 9.3% plus, and then here it says 5.9% added to that. So 5.9% is 15.2%. And then another scenario is he made his second late payment within 6 months. He received notification that his balance would be subject to the penalty rate. So now what is his new APR? Well, here, penalty rate, so now he went from 15.2% to 23.9%. That's a massive change. Massive change. So he needs to be very, very, very careful. Okay. Then on page 131, if you want to look at that, this one is just, and now I can't even remember what I was, okay. Okay, so, we have new balance equals the previous balance or what you didn't pay off from the previous month, plus any purchases, fees, and finance charges. And then if you made any payments, they would be subtracted, and any credits. So if you returned items, okay? So if you look at the next slide, we've got some stuff I want, so I'm gonna try and fit everything on one together. Let's see. Okay. So we've got, here's transaction date, but here's the post date. So you know when you buy something and sometimes it doesn't show up for a few days? That's why. Then there's always a reference number, and then we've got transaction description. Well, most of the time it'll put where it happened. And then we have payments and credits. So right here they returned something for $15.99, so it was credited to their account. So they no longer had to pay for it. Okay. And then down here they made a payment to pay off what they owed. And there's a few things up here. It's kind of hard to see, so you might need to open your book. There's a credit limit of $5,000, so that's the most they can spend. Cash advance limit of $1,500. And then the payment has to be received by the 25th of each month. Okay? So then this was the previous balance. Then they made purchases and maybe had some fees. Then they made a payment. There's no finance charge because it appears that they paid their what was actually owed. Then there's a new balance. Then there's a minimum payment that has to be paid before the due date. And if you do not pay that, then it's not considered a minimum payment. And so your payment is going to be late. So we're going to go ahead, and if you look here, back over here, we're going to follow that. Okay. So the new balance is going to be the previous balance. So we're going to do 316.15. Then we're going to add purchases and fees. And then there isn't a finance charge, so we're not going to have to add that. And then we're going to subtract the payment. Okay. So then the new balance is going to be $194.14. So that's going to be what you end up having to pay interest on, because that's part of it. That if you don't pay it off, you're going to pay. So if you look here, the APR is 18.9%, but that's for a year. Then there's a monthly, so they've divided it, and it needs to have 3 decimal places. Okay? All right. So then here's a scenario. We have Brad. He checked his credit card statement, and he found that a sales slip dated for 3/2 for $12.49 was posted as $12.99. He also found that a purchase for $56.29 dated 2/19 was unauthorized. Remember, I've talked about if you don't authorize a transaction and you let the bank know, many times they will give you the money back. But it all depends on how quickly you get that information to them. And then if the new balance on the statement was $491.23, what is the correct new balance? So we're going to start $491.23. So we're going to go back here, and he has basically a sales slip is just the receipt. And on the receipt it said this, but it showed up like this on the credit card statement. So this is kind of like the check thing. So they were actually overcharged 50 cents. So we're going to subtract 50 cents from the balance. Because they don't owe that. And then the purchase that was unauthorized, they are not going to pay that. So that needs to be subtracted from from the credit card bill. And the hard thing about this section is it's basically opposite of what it was on your check register, because when you bought something, your money went down, but on a credit card balance, it goes up if you buy something. So you've just got to keep that in mind as you're doing this. So then the correct balance will be that much. Okay. And then there's a cost for using a card, okay? And really the only way you can get away with not having to pay for a card would be to have a card that doesn't have a membership fee and making sure that you pay off the balance every single month. If you did that, it wouldn't cost to have the card, because basically you're just borrowing money for a short amount of time, but you're not actually paying interest. So, okay, so Danny switched credit cards. His annual membership fee is $50. The balance transfer fee of $2 of the old card balance of $420, and then his average monthly finance charge. So if it says average monthly and it wants to know the cost for using the card for a year, well, we're going to have to multiply that by 12, because that you'd have to have the whole year for that. So it's $405.60. So we're going to go ahead and come over here. Oh, and this, we need 2% of that. So we have $50, $8.40, $405.60. So we're going to add all those together. $464. So that's what it cost him to have this credit card for a year. And then your assignment is page 134, 1 to 31 all.